What's up, y'all? Today we are going to be talking about another web application vulnerability called cross-site scripting. This is probably the most popular web application vulnerability. It's one of the first things you ever learn when it comes to cybersecurity in general. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like videos like these. I'm trying to post every week now, so hopefully I stick to that schedule. Alright, so first off, understanding what cross-site scripting is. It's also known as XSS. And I find that the best way to describe it is understanding the differentiation between cross-site scripting, cross-site request forgery, and server-side request forgery. It's very common for those three to be studied at the same time. And the only thing to understand in simplest terms for cross-site requests or cross-site scripting is that it's a client-side attack, meaning the attack occurs on the web browser of the victim. And it's an attack that allows us to inject scripts into the website that executes when the page is loaded by the victim. And when you think of cross-site, it means that we're using the website to spread our attack or to spread our script. All right, so thankfully this is one of those videos that's gonna allow us to explain things mostly by example. All right, we're talking super simple here. This is the simplest version of a cross-site scripting attack. Now, what is this exactly? This is something that we inject into a field like a search bar or a blog entry form or a login form. And we're using JavaScript to execute anything we want on the web browser. So this is the most basic script that you can write. And this is typically used to actually test if it is possible to execute script on the web browser and see if cross-site scripting is possible. So we're using JavaScript's alert feature to just display the message that you've been hacked. And this is what we're gonna use to test. So let's jump right into the simplest example of this. So here we have a vulnerable website and we have a search bar that allows us to search for things. It looks like company and news announcements using a search bar. Now, because this is not protected, we can just use that very simple script and immediately hit search. And what's gonna happen is we actually need to remove the apostrophe here just because, that's a part of the script and that's what's being read as a script by the web page. So once we do this, we hit search. We'd immediately get an alert saying you've been hacked. Obviously, this is harmless. This is just to test whether the website is allowing us to enter information that allows us to execute code on the web page. Now, here are some actual examples for something that an attacker would use to perform malicious activity. And again, these are regular JavaScript functions that you can use, that anybody could use. The first one here is a very common one, and that's to steal the cookies of the victim. So the attacker would find a way to store this code into the website. And once let's say, moderator, an administrator, opens up the web browser and has this code execute, this allows us to obtain their cookies. So what this script is doing is making a fetch request to our HTTP server. So we would have an HTTP server that we would set up. And all it's doing is taking the cookies that exist on their web browser, encoding it properly, and then sending it over to us, to our web server. Now, this might be confusing since it's a fetch request. The fetch, it's not really fetching anything. It's just making a request to a specific function or directory that contains the cookie that we need to use. So as long as we have the cookie, we're able to log in as administrator or as a moderator into the website. This is another example as well, another just a function with JavaScript that allows us to do basically the same thing. It's another fetch request, but it's for any keystrokes that are made to the website. So if somebody's entering their password, we'll be able to know exactly what that is. All right, so next I wanted to explain the different types of cross-site scripting attacks that exist. And there are three main ones that you need to be aware of. The first, most popular, but least practical is the reflected cross-site scripting attack. All this means is that the attack is directly executed by the victim on their browser. And this is typically done through social engineering, so we're talking like phishing links and stuff like that, that automatically make the request on the victim's browser by the victim. This first example that we had is a perfect example of that. So basically, an attacker would send this link here that includes the script in it. It's making a query with the malicious JavaScript, and then it would execute whatever we wanted the script to execute. The next type of cross-site scripting attack is going to be stored, and this is probably the most common version that's out there. This is the easiest to understand by example because all we're doing is we're uploading the same types of malicious JavaScript, but we're uploading it to like blog posts or comments so that anytime somebody visits the website with the comment or with the blog post, anytime that blog post loads, it's also going to load the script. So this is a perfect example of that. We have a guest book here. We're going to enter a random name. We're going to put in the script here, and then we're going to post the comment. And this is going to be stored on the server. So it's not only going to be reflected for me, but anytime anybody visits the guest book for this website, this script is going to execute. We hit post comment and we automatically get the alert. But if we also refresh the page or access it from a different browser or different tab, we're also going to get the alert right away because it's already stored on the website. So something that's really good to understand is where this script is actually living, where it's being executed. This is the entire HTML of the page. And if we scroll down to where the input is for the search field, we can see that the script is right here and it's directly being executed. Because this site is vulnerable, because it's allowing us to enter whatever information we want, we can see that once the value is entered, we're starting a script and executing it however we want within the client-side script, within the web browser. All right, finally, the last and, in my opinion, the most confusing, the one that took me the longest to understand, was DOM-based cross-site scripting. Now, DOM or DOM, all it means, it's a representation of the structure of the client-side code. So the key thing to understand is the code execution is happening on a feature that exists within the browser instead of a request made to the web server. So this is an attack that only specifically happens on that one incident. It only happens on the code within the website. Like reflected in stored cross-site scripting attacks, they require you to make a web server. Although it's still happening on the client side, the request is still necessary for it to be executed. Whereas DOM-based cross-site scripting, all you're doing is using a feature within the website to execute the code. Thank God for TryHackMe for giving perfect examples of how this stuff works. So right now we're looking at a feature within the website, and all it does is it allows you to preview an image on the code that's already loaded on the website. So we already have this feature. We already have the preview feature loaded up, and all we need is the text. Now I'm gonna post the malicious text here and we're gonna review it. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're loading an image, a fake image, because the only context that we're loading for the image is X. And we already know it's not going to load. It's going to give us an error. And this parameter here tells us that once the error occurs, execute our malicious script, which is again just the test script, so we understand how this works. It's going to be an alert. We go ahead and hit preview here, get another alert saying that we've been hacked. Now, that's all you really need to know for cross-site scripting. There are additional ways to complicate things. There's like blind cross-site scripting attacks, but this is the foundation. This is all you need to understand to build upon different types of attacks. Once you understand this foundation, you can easily be able to execute proof of concepts and stuff like that. But yeah, let me know if that made sense. Make sure to like and subscribe. I think the next video I might do is not going to be a web application vulnerability based video, since I've done that for the past 3. I'm thinking of brute forcing. I feel like that's the coolest and like funnest type of video to make, just because it's kind of the most basic version of hacking that people think of. But yeah, if you want to stay tuned for that, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.